Natalie Papier, and this is my handmade home in Charlotte, North Carolina. I love meeting artists, I like connecting with artists, I like helping artists in return. I collect a lot of art. I don't ever remember a time when art wasn't my biggest love and passion and influence. My dad's an artist and he's a carpenter, and he renovated the home that we lived in, which was a big Victorian house. And it was so fun to see this mix between him as an artist and how he took that love of art into the home. We moved into our house in Oak Park, and my daughter at the time was 1, my son was 4. This is big, grand Victorian. I think we felt like, oh gosh, we're adults now. We have to do adult things. I had all the interior walls painted some type of agreeable gray. And after a few months, just agreeable gray doesn't agree with us. We are not those people. And it just kind of set my course into what is now my career. You're starting out as a young family and we were a little house broke. We bought the big Victorian and then didn't have the furniture to fill it. So I started experimenting a lot with thrifting and paint. Paint became my best friend. Little by little, I'd take a room at a time. I would find a piece of art and that would inspire color palettes or pattern mixing. And I got really excited about it. And I thought, why not? Why can't we do this? And once you start playing with things that really feel true to you, I think that's when your house can really sing. I started an Instagram for my new business, Home Ec, which initially started as pop-up shops. And I got a lot of people asking me for help, and it spiraled. I do art-forward design, and that's about being influenced by the art itself. And using a piece that you already have and love is inspiration for the whole room. So the art becomes a focal point, but the whole room is harmonious because you're pulling the palette, the scale, something out from it that highlights the piece. So we've been here in Charlotte for 2.5 years. This house felt grand right when you walk in. It's got all this intricate molding and the fireplaces and big windows. That to me just felt like a canvas. Right when you walk in the front door, you come into our entryway, which is kind of a funky space. So it's long and narrow, and it's hard to know what kind of furniture to put into an entryway. So I put a lot of different things in here. This is a piano by Frankie Zombie, who I met here in Charlotte. He's just such a cool guy, and I love having a piece of furniture that is art in and of itself. These huge walls with the molding were perfect spots for some large-scale pieces of art, which frames the entryway right when you come in. I have been really obsessing over Chez Dog design for a while. They do very cool lighting that are all made out of paper mache. And this piece in particular, being white amongst this blue color, it just pops. And I like the texture of it. And then coming in through here, we call this area the sunrise room. This piece of art over the fireplace is by this artist, Peter Keel. I was so into these warm pinks and terracotta colors. It's got some of the blues and teals of my vintage couch. My chair is in this rose tone. It literally is the piece in the space that the whole color palette streams from. It was kind of chaos when we first moved in, and I bought this vintage birdcage stand, and originally I was going to hang a plant from it. My son just took this and popped it on here, and I wish I could take credit for this because I thought that is the coolest way to showcase a disco ball. I am going to take credit actually because I made you. So it's just experimenting and getting fun with it and not seeing things quite so literally. So we're coming into our dining room here, where a staple of the room is this dining room table, which was an old refectory table from a college. And I love it because it already had so much warmth and patina, and it doesn't matter if you get a watering on it. It doesn't matter if the kids draw on it and get a little paint on it. It just keeps incorporating more character into the piece. We totally changed the kitchen layout, the flow. It was closed off. It had walls and 2 doors that you needed to walk into it, instead of how now it's an open kind of donut down here. It was walls that came to about here on either side, and then double French doors. But there was no flow. The flow stopped when you got to the kitchen. And the kitchen was already dated, so it was a perfect opportunity to take it and run with it. It's a small kitchen. It's basically a galley kitchen. It feels large because of the layout itself. And I wanted to have open shelving, but open shelving can be tricky as far as storage goes. With this, we built it all into the stove surround, and it has that little Parisian flair with the unlacquered brass. I think when it comes to working with color, you have to be really intentional about how you use it so it doesn't go overboard and feel like preschool and color explosion. So it's nice to have these quiet moments, like the pale pink of the cabinetry. And then it kind of jazzes up a little bit with the art. I had already kind of amassed this collection of portraits that I really loved, and I started with the one piece, Jacques Pierre, right under the light. And he felt lonely there, and it didn't feel able to fill up the wall enough. So I started experimenting with different configurations. And it ended up being something incredibly fun about this space that's so linear. It gives it a little bit of this asymmetrical moment that I have come to love, and now he gets to hang out with all his buddies. If you're just buying things that you love and you just think are cool and you would love to have them in your home, the hardest part is making a cohesive design flow throughout your home. And in this case, what I did in order to let a lot of my pieces shine is to keep the walls white. And because of the open floor plan of the downstairs, that was an opportunity to highlight a lot of my pieces and not have it feel like too much when room to room needs to kind of, speak to each other. The way I use color in this house is by defining color on the ceilings. And then I come in with this texture and pattern, and it's a lot of editing in the end because sometimes I'm like, okay, there's one too many things happening in here. When I saw this ostrich, I was just like, what is that? And I need that immediately. So this is Beyonce, my ostrich. There was a couple times when we were trying to name her. I think my son wanted to name her Frank. I'm like, that just doesn't sound right. She needs the proper, queenly name. Beyonce. This mid-century record player is one of my favorite pieces. I picked it up at an estate sale for $150, and it was completely in working order. And now this room has just kind of become our lounge. Everybody picks their favorite records whenever we have a record playing. So everybody knows what we're listening to. We put it in Beyonce's mouth. She's like our DJ. Yeah, my kids hate those. Too bad. You think those are subtly terrifying? I think they're charming. So we decided to go with an Alfred Hitchcock theme in the bathroom, starting with the Psycho picture. When I saw that floor tile, it's so impactful and graphic, and in a small space like that with no windows, I really wanted something to just pop. And I just like it because it makes people giggle. Subtly terrifying. Okay, stay. Go, boy, stay. Stay. So coming into this space, this is an adults-only chill zone. I was looking for something to cover these 2 closets as they were such a focal point. There's not much you can do. Even if you wallpaper, you're still dealing with the closet situation. So I wanted to think of something that was more unique. And I found a graffiti artist here. He was also a graphic artist, but out of work at the time. And he came and he did this and we collaborated, and it was just really fun. And he's become a good friend of mine here as well. And we kind of sparked this space off by literally stamping it with our journey that represents Chicago to Charlotte. When you talk about things that influence you, part of that to me has been movies that are scary, like Alfred Hitchcock, or a little bit of that Beetlejuice vibe. There's something about her haunted look and all of her eggs that I just find really intriguing. And right through the sitting room, you come into our bedroom area. Anytime I mix patterns, I think the most important thing to think about is scale of the patterns. Not only the colors, but you can't have big pattern, big pattern, big pattern, otherwise it feels too much. So if you break it up with smaller patterns, black and white is a great way to ground a space, and then you can add a little bit more in without it becoming completely overwhelming. All right, so now we're going into my daughter Maddie's room. She's 10. She's got a pretty cool space in here, but we wanted to still keep it young and fun and vibrant with some fresh colors. Sometimes it sparks my creativity to get more hands-on. Maddie's bedroom has this fireplace and it's very, very pretty. And we have the room painted this very pale kind of mint color. And I went in one day with this idea to just paint some poppy flowers on there. And I didn't even think too hard about it. And I think sometimes for me, that was my biggest issue, is sit in front of a canvas and feel so much pressure to make something amazing. And I didn't feel that. I just wanted to bring joy into my daughter's room. I always think it's important for little girls to have good role models that are women. And I wanted her to feel surrounded by this like gaggle of empowering women, but they're also fun and they're quirky and they're colorful and they all have their own personalities, just like our kids do. She wanted a beach theme. I'm like, I'm not gonna put palm trees on your wall, but I'll definitely get you the shell chandelier. That was on sale. This started out as a craft room until the pandemic went down. Now it's kind of multi-purpose office space. The kids did their schoolwork here. We still use it as a craft space. Obviously, with any good craft space, you have to have a beverage fridge. The ceiling color that we brought into this space is called Dynamic Blue. And it was inspired by my buddy here, the Marlin, who we picked up in an estate sale. My husband and I walked out like holding him on either side. It was like our big catch. Now he graces the wall and tries to not to impale people as they walk in the room, you know? It's just like pieces that have a story, and it's not just, I picked this up at West Elm. It's like, no, I met this family. This was their grandmother's. It's just, you keep getting that history passed down and becomes part of your home's own story. In my head, when I moved into this house, I envisioned it looking like an art gallery. And it kind of has taken that on, but more in a, we also live here kind of way. If you like this home tour, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Handmade for more.